Thank you for joining this lesson. We shall be discussing the Kisii Diocese Schools Joint Evaluation 2025 examination. So you're most welcome. Those who have been following up with Shifting Grades Online School know very well that the section 1 of this paper has already been uploaded. So we shall be going directly to the section 2. It's my encouragement you find some time and check all the questions in section 1. They have already been uploaded. And even in this video, we're going to upload all the questions in the section 2. The 8 of them. I know you're supposed to do your best 5 questions, but we shall focus on the 8 questions so that now our followers can see everything. You gauge yourself. Whenever you are choosing, it's good to first read through all the 8 optional questions. Don't come up with your best 5 unless you've already seen all the 8 questions. Don't say number 17 is simpler than 18 before you read 18. Don't say the first best questions are number 17 to 21 before you even read 22 to 24. And that's why I'm going to expose you to all the questions in this paper. So please be taking your time. Be taking your time before you choose the best 5. During your holiday, I want to invite you to our very wonderful sessions here from the 20th of November to the 12th of December, 2025. Via Google Meet, we shall be having very interactive and impactful lessons. Interactive such that learners can ask questions, the senior school and also the junior school. We shall be covering 2026 term 1 work, and we really invite all of you. Remember, our consultation line is already attached, 0704 15 3366. So please find time and book a chance with Shifting Grades. Whether you are in junior school or you are in the secondary school, you are all invited. Now back to the paper. On a very serious note, we go through the 8 questions. 17. ABC is an isosceles triangle in which AB, AC equals to BC. The coordinates of A and B are -2 and 1 and also 6, -3 respectively, and M is the midpoint of AB. Given that the equation of AC is -3y plus x plus 5 equals to 0, find part A, the equation of CM in the form y equals to mx plus c, where m and c are constants. Let's first sketch this particular, triangle. I'll start with AB. I want to sketch it. Later, we'll be writing the coordinates. You know, we've been told that it is isosceles. When it is isosceles, ladies and gentlemen, it means that 2 of the sides are equal. So if this is A, B, then this will be C. And you can see, according to the instructions, AC and BC are equal. Then coordinates provided are for A and B, -2, 1. Then the coordinate of B is also provided 6, -3. 6, -3, like that. So this is now the equation. There is also a midpoint, which has already been provided. Which is that midpoint? M is the midpoint of AB. M is the midpoint of AB. Is it good for you to already understand the following? That in case we drop a perpendicular from C to AB, that is what will give us M. It's good for you to know that. So M being a midpoint, the coordinates of M can be found. Coordinates of M shall be given as -2, which is the first x, plus the other x, which is a 6, Then we take the average, comma. Then we have 1 and -3. We also take the average. I hope we are together up to that point. Just the obvious way of finding the midpoint of two coordinates when the two coordinates have already been provided. So the coordinates of M shall be 4/2, then -2/2, which is -1. Yeah, 2, -1 is the coordinate of M. 2, -1 is the coordinate of M. Now we can check the equation that we are needed to find. Equation of Cm in the form y equals to mx plus c. M and c are constants. So let's find first the gradient of AB. Gradient of AB. The gradient of AB will be given by change in y, -3 minus 1, out of change in x, which will be 6 minus -2. Yeah, 3 minus 1, -3 minus 1, and then 6 minus -2. This shall be -4 out of 8, giving us -1/2, meaning that the gradient of MC, or rather CM, the gradient of CM shall be equal to, they are perpendicular. When you drop a line from C, it shall meet AB perpendicularly at point M. And therefore, we can now conclude that gradient 1 times gradient 2 should give us -1 because they are perpendicular lines. So -1/2 by gradient 2 shall give us -1, meaning that to remain with gradient 2, we multiply by -2 both sides, making it a +2. So the second gradient, gradient of MC or gradient of CM, is going to be +2. And now with line CM, whereby if the gradient is already known, then we can proceed to find equation. Reason being, we already know one of the coordinates along that line. So the gradient of 2 shall be given by change in y minus -1 according to the coordinate of M. Change in y is y minus -1 out of change in x minus 2. Across multiplication will give us, because this is over 1 already, y plus 1 equals to 2x minus 4. We can remain with y equals to 2x minus 5. Yeah, y equals to 2x minus 5. So this is now the equation. This is the equation of CM. CM is perpendicular to AB. That is the analysis you need as a student. That is what you needed to know. The coordinates of C. The coordinates of C. Okay. One other thing that you're supposed to know is that the coordinates of C can also be found. And here we can apply several approaches. One, we can use what you call, for us to find the coordinate of C, we can apply what you call, can use Pythagoras theorem. And we can also use, I think Pythagoras theorem. We can also apply vectors. We can also apply vectors. Remember the sides AC and BC are already equal. Yeah, so allow me use the Pythagoras theorem. Let me use the Pythagoras theorem, whereby we can let this coordinate, we can let this one be xy, just that. Yeah, xy like that. So let's talk about the distance. Let's talk about the distance from M. Let's talk about the distance from M to C. Distance from M to C, which is a perpendicular distance. The perpendicular distance shall be y minus the y coordinate here, which is -1. So the distance from M to C shall be the units y plus 1. Yeah, y plus 1. Then we should be able to say that the distance from A to M, which is horizontal, so we can consider the distance from M to A, AM. Distance from A to M shall be, we subtract 2 -1 minus -2 1. So this is 4 and this is -2, meaning that the distance from A to M equals to 4 squared plus -2 squared, the square root. So this is going to be this square root of 20, 4 squared plus 2 squared. Yeah, the square root of 20. So from A to M, the square root of 20. Can we also express vector AC so that now we may apply Pythagoras theorem? Let's express vector AC. So vector AC shall be, we need to get xy minus the coordinates of A. The coordinates of A are -2 1. -2 1. This is exactly x plus 2. And this is y minus 1. That is the vector A to C. Yeah, that is the vector A to C. That is the vector A to C. That is the vector A to C. So now with this knowledge now, we can use Pythagoras theorem and say, when we take vector A to M and we add vector M to C, also squared according to Pythagoras theorem, we will get AC. Yeah, we will get AC. So in other words, the length of AC shall be x plus 2 squared plus y minus 1 also squared, like that. That is now the length of AC, and we find square root like that. We find square root. So AM, you see we're having vector MC, right? We're having vector MC, which we didn't express to the fully. So I'll be getting to MC I'm working with only one triangle. Remember, ABC was subdivided. So MC can also be expressed. Vector MC can also be given as, the vector MC will be given as a XY minus 2, 1, no, 2 minus 1, 2 minus 1, like that. So this shall be x minus 2, y plus 1, x minus 2, y minus 1, like that. That is now vector MC, and we can square it. So we have vector MC, we have vector AC, and we have vector AM according to the triangle on the left. We have all the vectors. So let's equate their lengths. So we apply Pythagoras theorem at that point now, whereby AM, which is 20, when we square now that vector, because this is the length of the vector now, we are supposed to square it. So the root of 20 squared plus we go to the next. In the next, we'll be having CM also squared. So CM squared shall be x minus y plus y plus 1. That is the value of root 20 was AM. Now this is CM, should give us AC. The length of AC should also be squared. The length of AC should be squared. No, this is supposed to be squared. Then we talk about CM. The length of AC, which is already provided. And when we square it, it shall be A plus 2 plus y minus 1 also squared. Those are now the vectors. Those are the vectors now. So when we square this, we get 20. That is the length of AM squared. That is what it becomes. Then the length of CM squared is here. CM squared. Then we talk about equals to AC also squared. We have already equated that. So we open brackets, this becomes squared minus 4x plus we can add 4 and plus y squared plus 2y plus 1 equals to, we square the other side, x squared plus 4x plus 4, then plus y squared. Let's look at this. Y squared minus 2y plus 1. Let's now get a simplified equation by grouping terms together after the equal sign. After the equal sign, we group terms together. X squared, y squared, y squared. So let's talk about now let's talk about this 2y also appearing here. So y's have cancelled out. Okay, all y's have cancelled out. So we can now group terms together. Let's remain with 4, 20, and 1. That's 25 on this side. Then on the other side, what are we remaining with? Now, on the other side, we are remaining with, want to combine carefully, we are remaining with 4, that is 4x. Then this x, which was on the right, becomes positive. So it becomes 8x. And there is also a 1 here. And there is another 4 here. Yeah. So we have 8x. Trying to group some terms together there. Yeah, 8x. Then actually we would have cancelled very simply this 4 and this 4, and also this 1 and this 1. So that we just remain with 8x on the right and 20. Yeah. So that the value of x now becomes, this is 20. This is 20. So 20 divided by 8 will give us 2.5. X is 2.5, like that. So the value of x is 2.5. So here we are having coordinate C as 2.5, and the value of y can now be found. Remember the gradient of CM was 2. So the gradient of 2 is given by change in y, 2 minus, okay, y minus -1, y minus -1, then x, which is 2.5, minus 2.5 minus 2. Yeah. So 2.5 minus 2, we get 0.5 times 2, we get 1. So the value of y shall be, well, this is a half 2 equals to y minus 1, no, this is a plus, out of 0.5. Cross multiply, this becomes y equals to 1 equals to y plus 1. Okay. Then at this point, can we talk about the value of y now being 0? If y is 0, then the coordinates of C can now be written in full. 2.5, 0. Hey, that one has taken time and a lot of application of both vectors and Pythagoras theorem. Vectors and Pythagoras theorem. What about part C of this question? We are taught to find the x and y intercepts. X and y intercepts. X and y intercepts of BC. X and y intercepts BC. That means we just have to find BC first. We have to find BC first. So the value of BC, the equation first of BC, you know, we need to talk about a gradient first. Change in y, we have this is 0. So 0 minus -3, it becomes 3 out of 2.5 minus 6. 2.5 minus 6. negative 3.5. So negative 6/7. That is the gradient, negative 6/7. So let's find the equation. Negative 6/7 should be given by change in y minus 0, change in x minus 2.5. So 7y equals to negative 6x minus 6 by 2.5 minus 15. So we talk about y being equal to negative 6/7x minus 15/7, making y-intercept to be interpreted immediately as negative 15/7. Then x-intercept shall be at x-intercept y equals to 0. Therefore, 15/7 goes to the left-hand side. This is equal to negative 6/7x. Negative 6/7x. And how will you remain with x? You have to take 15/negative 6. We get negative 2.5. Negative 2.5. So the x-intercept is negative 2.5. Negative 2.5. So that is the equation. That is the y-intercept and the x-intercept. We check number 18 now. Number 18, the question says, 3 partners, 3 business partners, Areba, Condeto, and B22 contributed some money towards a 3-year investment. Areba contributed 40% of the money, then Condeto and B22 contributed in the ratio 7:5. That means the 60% is given in this ratio. Okay, the 60% is given in this ratio. Then, in this ratio, it may mean, I want to simplify this question for you. So 7/12 of the 60% that had remained. So 7/12 by 60 gives us 35%. That is a Condeto. Then we shall have 5/12 by 60%, which is 25. And this is B22. So now they gave Areba is to Condeto is to B22. They gave 40%, 35%, 25% respectively. Let's check now the question. Determine in Roman 1 the amount of money the partners contributed. The amount of money the partners contributed. Areba contributed 36 more than B22. So which percent is Areba ahead of B22? The difference in percentages is 40 minus 25, giving us 15%. So this difference in percentage will also be corresponding to the difference in the amount. So we'll say 15% equals to 36,000. meaning that the total amount that they gave 100% can also be found. 36,000 times 100 out of 15. 36,000 times 100 out of 15. This gives us exactly 240. So these partners contributed 240. 240,000. A very good question. Please make sure that you understand how I took care of these ratios into percentage, the way I converted that. The next, Roman 2. Now the ratio of their contributions of the three partners. So the contributions of the three partners shall now be 40 is to 35 is to 25. 40 is to 35 is to 25. Can we divide by 12? No, by 5, sorry. This is 8 is to 7 is to 5. So this is the ratios for Arero, Ondeto, and Bitutu, respectively. So those are their proportions now. Those are their proportions. Now look at part B. The investment at 2 plans. Plan A, 5 to earn 5% per annum interest compounded annually. It was a 3 years plan, remember? And plan B, to earn 5% interest compounded quarterly. So for plan A, we know that we need the principal, which is 240, amount contributed, multiplied by, or rather, you open brackets, 1 plus rate, 5% for the 3 years, compounded annually. So what will be the total amount? 1 plus 5% raised to power 3. Then we multiply by 240,000. We get 277,830 Kenya shillings. So that you may find plan A interest. What is the amount of interest accrued here? The total amount minus 240,000. So that you may say the interest earned is 37,830. That is the interest earned from plan A. What about plan B? In plan B, 5% per annum. Then the interest is compounded quarterly. So 241 plus 5 was per annum. So in a quarter a year, we divide it by 4. If 5 was per annum, then in a quarter a year, it shall be 1.25. This is some paper 2 content raised to for 3 years, and compound interest is being done after a quarter a year. How many quarters are in a year? 4 quarters. So within 3 years, 4 times 3 years, we get 12. 1 plus 1.25%. Then we raise to power. Answer raised to power 12. Then we multiply by 240,000. We get 278,581.08 Kenya shillings. This is the amount that will be in the account for plan B. So we can get plan B possible interest We take the difference now. We subtract 240,000. So we get 38,581.08. You see now? We have the amount of interest and or possible interest from either plans. What were we calculating? Difference in interests between the two plans. So difference in interests between the two plans. Difference in interests between the two plans. We need to talk about this 38,581.08 minus 37,830. So that you get the difference 37,830. This is going to be 751.08 Kenya shillings. So that is the difference in the two plans the partners are having. Let's look at question 19, which is from question 19 is from matrices. So let's look at matrices here. Given that A equals to that and B equals to that, find the determinant of. I want you to look at the question carefully. Find the determinant of the inverse of A times B. So we first find the inverse of A. Inverse of A requires the date of matrix A first. The date of matrix A shall be 2 by 3, product of elements in the leading diagonal minus product of elements in the other diagonal. So it will be 6 minus 5, which is 1. -1 times -5 is just 5. 2 times 3 is just 6. So 6 minus 5 is 1. So A inverse shall be equal to, we change the position of 3 and 2, then 5 and 1 will change their signs that way. So now we are having the inverse of A. Now this should be, we get now the product of, A inverse, product of A inverse and matrix B, 4, 6. Yeah, thank you for being around. Let's continue checking our programs here from the 10th of November to the 12th of December 2025. And the work to be covered is already displayed. It's already displayed there. So let me zoom this one. Yeah. So we have the inverse of A multiplied by matrix B. You see matrix B is 4, 6, 1, -1. This is equal to, we can find now the product of this first. Find the product of these two matrices. Remember, to multiply matrices, you need row times column. So 3 by 4 and 5 by 1, 12 plus 5, 17. Yeah, I hope that's clear. 12 plus 5, yeah. The next should be the same row by the next column, giving us 3 by 6, 5 by -1. So 18 minus 5, giving us 13. We go to the other row. At each column, 1 by 4 and 2 by 1. That should be 4 plus 2, 6. Then 1 by 6 and 2 by -1. That is 6 minus 2, giving us 4. So this is the product. But now we want the determinant of that product. We want now the determinant. So how do we get the date? We first take 17 by 4 minus 6 by 13. Product of elements in the leading diagonal minus product of elements in the other diagonal. This examiner really wanted people to explore matrices. It's like we are mentioning everything in matrices in one question. Okay, 17 by 4. And then we subtract 6 by 13. Now this will give us 17 by 4. We get 68 minus 6 by 13. We get 78. So we are talking about -10. So what we are looking for is -10, and -10 has been found. So we are through with part 1. The question is very technical. It needed us to get the inverse of A, of which inverse cannot be found without determinant. So we had to find determinant of A, then inverse of A. Now inverse of A to be multiplied by matrix B. Then after multiplying by that now, the resulting matrix now is the one whose determinant is being established. 0704 15 33 66. That's our consultation line. Let's look at part B of this great question. The cost of a mathematics book in shop A is X, and that of chemistry is Y. In shop B, the cost of a math book is 6% less than that in shop A, while that of chemistry book is 5,000 more than in shop A. Chipto bought 5 mathematics books and 4 chemistry books from shop A and paid a total of 66.30. Metobo bought 5 mathematics books and 4 chemistry books from shop B and paid a total of 65.49. Form a matrix to represent the above information. Form a matrix equation to represent the above information. Okay. So let's work out that. We are first told that we have Chipto 5 math books from A. So 5 by X and 4 books of chemistry by Y, totaling to 63.30. Okay. Then we have Metobo now, 5 math books from shop B. So 5 math books from B. It means it's 5 multiplied by 6% less. So it's 94% of X. 5 times 94% X. We get 4.7. 4.7 X. 4.7 X. So 4.7 X plus. We are told that a chemistry book is 5% more, meaning that when this person now Metabo buys 4 of them, so it'll be 4 times 105% of Y. So 4 times 105% to give us 4.2 Y. And this now costed 65.49. So to form a matrix, remember these are linear equations. So we can talk about matrix equations now. And talk about matrix equations. Matrix equations. So to form matrix equations now, we need 5, 4, then 4.5, 4.7, 4.2. This is 4.7. Yeah. Then with this now, we talk about variables matrix equals to the constants matrix. Constants matrix. So we have our equation there. Part B, we are using the matrix method to form or to solve this matrix. So part B, let's get the determinant first. Of this will be 5 multiplied by 4.2 minus 4 multiplied by 4.7. So what are we getting from this? 5 by 4.2. 5 times 4.2. Get 21 minus 4 multiplied by 4.7. This gives us exactly 2.2. 2.2, which is 2 and 1 over 5, which is 11 over 5. Yeah, 11 out of 5. So now we need to say that the inverse of the coefficients matrix shall be 11 over 5. 11 over 5 should divide everything, not multiply, should divide. So if it is dividing everything, then we multiply every element by 5 over 11. And then we have 4.2 at this point and 5 at this point. They change positions. Then this becomes -4 and this becomes -4.7. So this is the inverse of the coefficients matrix. Inverse of the coefficients matrix. Then now we are supposed to pre-multiply the matrix equation by the inverse of the coefficients matrix. We start with 5 over 11, 4.2, -4, -4.7, 5, 5, 4, 4.7, 4.2, like that, multiplied by x, y equals to we also pre-multiply on the right-hand side. 5 out of 11, 4.2. This is -4. This is -4.7. This is 5. So at this point, okay, we multiply by, sorry, the constants here. 6630 and 6549. Yeah. A matrix times its own inverse should give us identity matrix 1, 0, 0, 1. That is the identity matrix times xy. A matrix times its own inverse should give us the identity matrix. This is equal to, let's use now matrices here. 4.2 into 6630 minus 4 into 6549. This will give us 1650. So 5/11 into 1650. In the other case, it will be negative 4.7 multiplied by 6630 plus 5 into 6549, giving us 1584. The inverse matrix, okay, the identity matrix times any matrix, the matrix remains unchanged, equals to everything now by 5/11 multiplied by 1650. That gives us 750. Then we also talk about 5/11 multiplied by 1584. This gives us 720. This is a very serious question. X equals to 750 and Y equals to 720. That's a very good question, but very technical. Remember we first worked out some matrices in part A, and they are all not related to what we are solving later. In most cases, you'll be given to find inverse in part A, which relates to the question that you interpret in part B, making your work easier. Here, everything is just independent. So that's how you're supposed to work out the question. Can we check number 20 now? Yes, a very good question. Remember to subscribe. Remember to share so that you may invite a friend to our broadcast. Please share with your friends. Kindly share with your friends. Our good program here is still being advertised to you. Kindly make an appointment with Shifting Grades Online School. You shall meet a forum of very competent facilitators who will take you through the holiday program. Please don't hesitate. 070415 3366. That's our number. Number 20. A group of investors decided to contribute 600,000 Kenya shillings equally to buy a 2-acre piece of land. However, 5 members pulled out of the project, and so the remaining members were to contribute an extra 6,000 each. Taking X to be the original number of members in the group, write an expression of X for 1, the amount that each member was to contribute initially. So the members are X. The members are X, and they are supposed to contribute a total of 600,000. So you just divide by X. That is the amount each could have been producing originally, depending on the plan. They were originally X, and they are to raise 600,000. So each was to contribute 600,000 out of X, amount that was contributed by each of the remaining. So they are supposed to raise the same amount, but this time round, 5 of them have pulled out. So they are dividing the same amount when they are now less 5 people. So this becomes the expression for the second case now. Then now form an equation in X and hence find the number of members who contributed the money. So they are contributing a bigger amount here, and the difference is 6,000. 5 members pulled out, and so the remaining were to contribute an extra. So what they are contributing now, what they are giving now, when they are X minus 5, minus what they would have given initially, is a difference of 6,000. That is what you're supposed to get. Now we can solve this one, of course, quadratically, but we're first going to simplify. We are first going to simplify. X minus 5 X minus 5 into x and 1. Yeah, like that. So we divide LCM by the first denominator. We remain with x. So we get 600,000 x. This is x. Then we subtract. We divide LCM by the second denominator, and we remain with x minus 5. So 600,000 x minus 5 equals to 6,000 into x squared and 5x. Now we are done with the LCM, right? We are done with the LCM. Let's check the grouping of terms. Minus 600 x plus. This is 30. Then we are having 5 zeros. But it becomes positive because of negative 600,000 at negative 5 equals to 6,000 x power 2 minus 30,000 x. Can we group terms? This one cancels with this. Then we can start with 6,000 x squared minus 30,000 x minus 30. Okay, 3 million. Yeah, 3 million. We remain with a 0. This question can simplify. When we divide by 6,000, 30,000 becomes 5. And 3 million becomes 500. 500 equals to 0. So at this point now, we are supposed to solve this one quadratically. Allow me eat up the space in the next question. In this case, we need to get x. We can use the quadratic formula, but we need negative b, which becomes 5, plus or minus the square root of b squared, which is 25, minus 4a and c negative 500. Everything now should be divided by 2. Let me work out 25, then 4 times 500. Then we take square root. That should be 45. So 5 plus or minus 45 out of 2. The first value of x will either be 45. When we add 5, we are getting 50 over 2. We get 25. Then we can now start talking about 5 minus 45 divided by 2, giving us negative 20. So the other x should be negative 20. If it's negative 20, let's talk about the value of x being the original members. So original equals to x. Original 25. After pulling out 5 of them, we remain with 20 members. These are the members who took part fully in that particular partnership. In this group of, because we are finding the number of people who contributed the money, not the original number of members in the group. And the value of x is original. So there are some people who will find x as 25, then they will think they have gotten the answer. So it's 25, then 5 pulled out. It is 20 members who gave the money. Now they later subdivided the land into smaller pieces of 0.125 acres and sold each at 50,000. Find the number of smaller pieces they had. So we are having 2 acres. 2 acres are being divided into 0.25 of an acre, 0.125. 2 divided by 0.125, we get 16 of them. So we have 16 pieces. The whole land was 2 acres piece of land. Then it's being divided into plots of what size? 0.125. So there are 16 pieces of land being obtained. Calculate the percentage profit they made from the sale of the smaller pieces. So each piece is attracting 50,000. No, 50. Oh, they stated this figure. I don't know why there is a comma there. A comma, then 4 zeros. There could be an error there. There could be an error. Let's check what would be reasonable. Maybe this was 50. Then the zeros were meant to be 3. Just because of that 50, we can check both cases. So the selling price, 16 multiplied by 500,000, we get 8 million. So these guys raised 8 million. These guys raised 8 million. The land originally was costing 600,000. So profit shall be 8 million and we subtract 600,000. So the profit shall be 77.4 million. So percentage profit, the profit itself, out of the buying price, 600,000, multiplied by 100. So what are we getting here? This is a very big profit. A very big profit. That's why I was telling you, maybe there is an error in the typing there. The profit is 1233 and a third percent. What if we assume that the typist here made a mistake? They made 50,000. So that we say selling price will be 16 by 50,000. You know, this will give us 800,000. 800,000. And with 800,000, we shall talk of profit being 200,000. Then percentage profit will be the profit out of the buying price times 100. So this is going to exactly be 66 and 2/3. Percent. 66 and 2/3 percent. Yeah, 66 and 2/3 percent. So it's a very good question. It's a very good question. So let's hope that this was an error, then we work with exactly 50,000. Let's work with 50,000 in such a case. But anyway, it's a good question. Most of the quadratic part, you should know how to interpret these problems. Actually, it can even be set as a section 1 question, which is very compulsory. You can't escape such a question. So it's good for you to know how to interpret such questions. Look at 21, a question on scale drawings. 3 warships, A, B, and C, are at the sea such that B is 400 on a bearing of 30 from A. Then C is 750 from B on a bearing of 120. An enemy ship E is sighted 1080 kilometers due south of B. Taking a scale of 1 centimeter for 100 km, locate the positions of the 4 of them. So you're supposed now to use your skills here very well, whereby you're supposed to locate the position of A first. From A is a reference point. So from A, we are talking about a bearing of 30. So we start here. Talk about A. Then a bearing of 30. 030 means from the north in the clockwise direction, 30 degrees. So we produce that. Uh-huh, 30 degrees like that. Then after that, we measure along it 4 centimeters. So a distance of 4 centimeters should be measured here. That will be B now. Then we raise a perpendicular line there. That's our B. We have measured 4 centimeters here. 4 centimeters like that. The next instruction is about C. C is 750 from B on a bearing of 120 from B. So from B, we measure 120. Measure 120. That's where the bearing is. Then we talk about 750, translating to 7.5. We measure 7.5 along that. We measure 7.5. So this is going to be C. 7.5 centimeters. 7.5 centimeters. You should be able to interpret bearings. You should be able to interpret bearings. You should be knowing that at every point you are supposed to raise a compass like that. So we have A, B, and C. Where is C? An enemy ship. It is a 1080, meaning 10.8 centimeters south of B. So while at B, just move southwards, meaning vertically downwards. Vertically downwards. Then we measure 10.8. Then we measure 10.8. Just a minute. Yeah, we measure 10.8. So let me check a distance of 10.8 where will take us. Continuing to prolong here. Okay, so 10.8. That is where E shall be situated. Now we can connect even to C, even to A, like that. So we have the 4 of them drawn like that. Something else that we're supposed to find, Roman 1, the bearing of C from E. C from E, we just measure that angle. C from E, we measure the angle, C from E. This is an angle 40 degrees. You know, it's there. So the bearing of C from E means 040 degrees, or it can be stated as from the north, 40 degrees towards the east. This is compass bearing. Still correct. So it depends on how you want to state the bearing. Can be true bearing or compass bearing, like that. Any of the statements is correct. If you choose true bearing, make sure it's 3 digits. That's why I begin with 040. Yeah, that's why I begin with 040, like that. 040. Can check a few other questions. Like part 2 of these, we are told to also find the distance between A and C. Distance between A and E. Distance between A and E, from what I can find here, is 7.6 centimeters. So 7.6 centimeters should be multiplied by 100 to give us 716 km on the ground. We talk about actual distances here. So you can't measure distance and you leave it in centimeters. Let that one be taken seriously. You can't measure distances and you leave it in centimeters unless the examiner has made it so specific. Unless the examiner says very specifically, you leave it in centimeters, it's not advisable to do so. Yeah, you're not supposed to do that. Part C. A point D is equidistant. A point D is equidistant from A, B, and C on the scale drawing. Locate the point D. Hence, determine the distance from ship E to point D. Now, in that case, you're supposed to know that for a point to be equidistant from A, B, and C, it means that because A, B, and C have already been drawn, it's like we need a point whereby a circle drawn from that point will touch A, B, C. A circle drawn from point D should touch A, B, C. That means we are doing a circumscription. We need a circumcenter. So with A, B, and C, we can talk about a circle that touches all these vertices. So we bisect any 2 lines. Can be AC, and bisect AC. We can bisect AC. So AC can be bisected at the center perpendicularly. Can be bisected perpendicularly. So standing at A, we make an arc and also an arc. Standing at C, we cut those arcs, meaning that we can produce a bisector, a perpendicular bisector of AC. Then we do the same for another line like BC. A line like BC can also be perpendicularly bisected, whereby to bisect these, it will mean, yeah, standing at C, you make an arc, you also make an arc, and standing at B, you cut those arcs, meaning that now join those arcs and you will have bisected it perpendicularly. So where the 2 bisectors meet here, that becomes our D. Because if you stand at D and you draw a circle, you will find there is a common distance. A circle will touch A, B, and C, drawn from point D. A circle drawn from point D will touch A, B, and C, meaning that point D is equidistant from those particular vertices. If it's equidistant, then we have already located. Hence, we are to determine the distance between point D and the ship E. Distance between point D and the ship E. So this is the distance that we need. That one. That is the distance that we need. So now we can measure it first in centimeters, and then we make it actual distance. So I'm getting exactly 8 centimeters. So 8 centimeters should be multiplied by 800 to give us 8 multiplied by 100 to give us 800 kilometers, like that. It's a very good question. A very, very good question. And thank you guys for following. Can we check 22? Let's check 22. Now, the following figure represents a piece of land in the shape of a trapezium, ABCD. ABCD, okay? Line AB and CD are parallel. Point M is the mid of AB. You can see point M, the mid of AB. AB is 750, meaning that this is 75, and this is also 75, because M is a midpoint, okay? The length AD is given as 58.5. The length DM is given as, it's given as a 61.5. The angle at B is 30 as shown on the diagram. Let's check what we are supposed to calculate in this particular question. Looking at part A, calculate the area of the triangular plot AMD. Area of AMD. AMD. Okay, there are several approaches that we can use, ladies and gentlemen. Very many approaches that we can use. One, we can find an angle. Let's say the angle at this point. Which point? Let me check. Relate the length, blah, blah, blah. BMC. Angle BMC. Okay, let's find the angle at this point. Let's find the angle at that point. You know that angle will be called capital M according to AMD. The angle capital M, and we should apply what you call the cosine rule first to get that angle. So let's use cosine rule. The length here is small letter A, the length opposite here small letter M, the length opposite here small letter D. So we say that when letter M is squared, it should give us D squared, A squared minus 2 DA, the cosine of the angle at M. Cosine of the angle at M. That is generally the cosine rule. Therefore, 58.5 squared equals to 75 squared plus the angle at D, the line A, 61.5, also squared, minus 2 multiplied by 75 multiplied by 61.5, cosine of the angle, which is having a value that is unknown. So 58.5 squared minus 75 squared minus again 61.5 squared. So we'll be getting negative 5985 equals to 2 multiplied by 75 multiplied by 61.5, giving us negative 9225, the cosine of M. How shall you remain with the cosine of M? By dividing, because the negative will cancel when you divide through 59.85 out of 92.25. So we are getting 0.648648964888. 6488 according to the rounding off rules. So the value of m, the angle at m, shall be now the cos inverse. Shift cosine of this value, we get 49. We get 49. We get 49.55. 49.55. Now with this particular angle given, now area of a triangle is usually given by half AB sine beta, half in that case, in such a formula where we are finding half AB sine beta, A and B are usually two sides, and beta is an angle between the two sides. So half times 75 times 61.5 cosine, no sine, sorry, we are now finding area. Cosine of sine of 49.55. So we can find the area first. Half multiplied by 75 multiplied by 61.5 sine 49.55. Now this gives us area equivalent to 1754.99 square meters. Square meters. So that is the area. That one is the area. Now that we have the area, what else are we told to find? And hence find the perpendicular distance between the parallel sides. Now perpendicular distance shall be the same triangle. Area of 1754.99 will also be given by half multiplied by a base of 75 and a known h. The two formula, half base times height, a base of 75 and a known perpendicular height. At a known perpendicular height. A known perpendicular height, we'll get the same area. We get the same area. So to remain with h, we now have to multiply this by 2 and we divide by 75. So this will be 46.80. 46.80. Like that. That's the perpendicular height. 46.80. This is a question that requires a student to think and reason. Remember, area could have also been found using the Eros formula, whereby we need perimeter, then half of the perimeter, then we apply the formula that says area equals to the square root of S into S minus A, S minus B, S minus C, S minus C, square root of everything, whereby S is half the perimeter. So we have the Eros formula, book 2 mathematics. So it can still be found. Calculate the length of BC and MC. The length of BC and MC. BC and MC. Let's check BC, then MC. The length of BC and MC. BC and MC. The length of BC is now this one, MC this one. Okay. So we can find these lengths using several approaches. Yeah, several approaches. One, we can talk about a sine rule and also cosine rule. You said there's 75 and this is 30. And you see, there is something here that we call parallel lines. There are parallel lines there. That means angles in parallel lines can also be applied here. Yeah, so that line is passing like that. Meaning that if we got the angle here as 49, we got the angle here is 49.5. We can also say that this is also 49.55 alternate angles. Those are alternate angles. Then something else that I want you to just understand is that when this angle is 30, ladies and gentlemen, this shall also be 30. That angle shall also be 30, like that. So if we have an angle of 30 there, I think we can proceed and find several other angles. Yeah, several other angles. For instance, we can find some more other angles. Let me show you the other angles that we can find. Other angles that we can find in this diagram can be angles like, I don't want us to take too long to find angles that can be found using very quick approaches. Let's check. Let's check the perpendicular distance that we are already having. We're already having a perpendicular distance. Therefore, if I apply that perpendicular distance at this point, let me change my color here. I use the perpendicular height still at that point. Remember, the angle here is 30, and the perpendicular height here is known. Okay, we found it as 46.8, right? 46.8. So why can't we apply the same and get the hypotenuse there? Because we have the angle of 30 here already known. So we can say that the tan, not tan, with 30 degrees, that's the opposite angle. So we can use cosine. We can use sine actually. The sine of 30 degrees, sine of 30 should be equal to opposite length and opposite of 46.8 out of hypotenuse, which is not known, like that. And the hypotenuse in this case is our BC. So hypotenuse, our BC, which is now X, shall be given by 46.8 divided by the sine of 30 degrees, giving us 93.6. Yeah, 93.6 meters. 93.6 meters. So I dropped the perpendicular, which is just the same as the perpendicular we had here. I just transferred it to that point. So that with the perpendicular at that point, we can now use perpendicular and the angle of 30 at that point and Pythagoras theorem to get 93.6. So here we're talking about 93.6. 93.6 meters. Then now we talk about MC. We now talk about MC. This now shall be simple. You know, we are having 93 here, 0.6 meters. We are having 75 here. And now the length we want is MC, which means that for MC now, we can apply the cosine rule again. Cosine rule means the length MC, which we don't know, and we can let to be y, equals to y squared. This length is let to be y squared. It's equal to the other side here, 93.6, 93.6, 3.6 plus 75. These ones are squared, minus 2 multiplied by 93.6 times 75. The cosine of the angle, which is equal to 30 degrees. The angle which is opposite to y, 30 degrees, yeah. So I've used triangle BCM, whereby two sides are known. This one is known, this one is known, and the angle between there is also known. So cosine rule becomes the best. So now at this point, we can now say that y squared will be given by, let me work out the whole of this side, 93.6 squared plus 75 squared minus, I open brackets, 2 multiplied by 93.6 multiplied by 75, the cosine of 30, I'm getting 2226.96. So that y becomes the square root of this figure. The square root will give me 47.19. And these are meters because it's a length. Yeah. This is a very serious question. It really required people. It really required people to ensure that they are conversant with what they are doing. Analyzing that diagram is not just very easy. It's not just very easy. So please remember our programs here as we continue. The program is starting from the 20th of November to the 12th of December. Remember the consultation line is 0704 15 33 66. 0704 15 33 66. That's our line for junior school and also secondary schools. Please reach out for a very interactive session. We really need you on board. We seriously need you on board. Okay. Calculate the obtuse angle, BMC. The obtuse angle means it's greater than 90, but less than 180. That is the meaning of obtuse angle. So let's check obtuse angle, BMC. Obtuse angle, BMC. BMC. Obtuse angle, BMC. So BMC means this angle. The obtuse one, BMC, it's an obtuse angle. It is an obtuse angle. So we can use a cosine rule in this case. Let me first extract the triangle actually. Let me extract the triangle. The triangle is like this. This is a straight. Then this is a M is here. Let me check. We are having C on top there and B down. Yeah. So we need the angle at M. We need the angle at M. We've gotten the length MC. The length MC. Let me check. The length M to C. Yeah. The length M to C has been found as 47.19. 47.19. Then we know this is 75 from M to C. Is that true? Yeah. Because M is the midpoint of AB, which is 75. Then 93.6. 93.6. Then this is exactly 30 degrees. So to find the angle at M, this one, which is obtuse naturally, we need to apply, we can apply cosine rule or even sine rule. With cosine rule, with sine rule, let's start with sine. We need to say 47.19 out of the sine of 30, opposite angle to that, should be equal to 93.6 out of the sine of the angle at M. Yeah, that is the sine rule. That is the sine rule. Then with that now, we can say that the angle at M, sine M sine M equals to, we can cross multiply and get 93.6 sine 30. Then we divide by 47.19. This will give us 0.9917, making M an acute angle, shift sign, an acute angle of 82.63. That's an acute angle, meaning that now the obtuse angle at M, that means an angle with the same sign, but in the second quadrant. An angle with the same sign, but in the second quadrant. So 180 minus, and we get 97.37 and 7.37 degrees. So that's the value of the angle at M. It should be obtuse and not acute. It is not acute. Even naturally, how it has been drawn, it's greater than 90. So it can be an acute angle. So we look for an angle with the same value of sine. Yeah, and we have gotten it. We have already gotten it. Let's check question number 23, a very good question. The frequency distribution table below shows marks scored by students in a class. We can see the classes of marks there, the frequencies there. Then, given that the main mark is 35.7, find the value of t. We know that for us to get mean, we need summation of f of x out of summation of f. So we need to come up with x first, the midpoints of every class, x. So that you talk about fx. Each midpoint times the frequency. So 10 and 14 should be added, then we divide by 2. We get 12 times a frequency of 11. 12 times a frequency of 11, 132. So this is fx. Yeah, the next should be 15 and 24, and we divide by 2, we get 19.5. 19.5. Then with 19.5, we multiply by 8. We get 156. Then we proceed to 25 and 39. Then we divide them by 2. We get a midpoint of 32. 32 by 9, we get 288. 288. Then we talk about 40 and 44 to give us 42. 42 by 4 to give us 168. 45 and 54 by 2 to give us 49.5. By 6 to give us 297. Then finally, 55 and 69 to divide by 2, get 62. Then 62 by t. 62 times t, like that. So what is the summation of f of x? Summation of f times x shall be 132 plus 156 plus 288 plus 168 plus 297. I'm getting 1041 plus 62 times t. I hope that addition was right. I'm confirming it. Plus 288 plus 168 plus 297, 1041 plus 62t. Okay, with that now, we should be able to divide by total f. Divide by total f. Total frequency shall be 11, 19, 28, 32, 38 plus t. 11 plus 8 plus 9 plus 4 plus 6. 38 plus t. So now 1041 plus 62t out of 38 plus t should give us 35.7. Yeah, 35.7. Then with this now, we should be able to cross multiply and say 1041 plus 62t is equal to, we multiply 38 by 35.7. This is 1356.6 plus 35.7 t. 35.7 t. So we can group terms now and take 1356.6 minus 1041. We get 315. 315.6. Then 62 minus 35.7. We get 26.3, the value of t. The value of t. So how will you remain with the value of t? To remain with the value of t, you need 315.6 out of 26.3. We get exactly 12. Wow, exactly 12. So you have to be knowing how the mean is calculated. And if you know how the mean is calculated, then you are able to maneuver you're able to maneuver and get the value. You are able to maneuver and get the value of t, because we had not been told. There are simple ones whereby you will be told the total frequency. Then you will say maybe 38 plus t equals to total frequency of 50. Then you solve for the value of t. But in this case, you really have to know how to play along with statistics 1. So that is it. Very simple. Very, very simple. So can we proceed to the next question? Yeah, the next question is Roman 2, whereby we are taught to find the class interval of the model class. Model class is the class with the highest frequency. Class with the highest frequency. So which class is having the highest frequency? Which class is having the highest frequency? We've said T is 12, so we'll have 12 here. Class with the highest frequency is the last one. That becomes the model class. That becomes the model class. If that is the model class, then we are supposed to be able now to get its median, to get its interval. Class interval is given by upper boundary minus lower boundary. Lower boundary is 54.5. 54.5. Subtract upper minus lower boundary. So 69 minus 54, we get 15. So the class interval is 15. In such case, it's 15. Class interval is 15. Yeah, like that. The class interval is equal to 15. We are done with that part. A class interval of 15. We are almost winding up with this question, ladies and gentlemen. We are almost winding up. Let's look at part B. In part B now, we are taught to find on the grid provided below, draw a histogram to represent the information, the table below. How do we draw histogram? More so in a case like this, where the intervals are not the same. Class intervals are very different. So we are supposed now to come up with, what you call frequency density. Frequency density. Frequency density is usually given by every frequency out of class width. Frequency over class width. So 11/5, for example, we get 2.2. The next should be, when we use 24.5 and 14.5, we are getting 10. So 8/10 is 0.8. The next is 39.5 minus 14.5, we get 25. Class interval is 25. So we need to take 9/25. We get 0.36. Yeah, 0.36. Then after that, we can talk about 4/5. Frequency of 4 class interval of 5. This is 0.8. 0.8. Then the next one with 54.5 as the upper boundary minus 44.5, we get 10. So with 10, we need to take 6/10, which is 0.6. Then in the last class, we already found interval as 15. So we need 12/15, giving us again 0.8. 12/15, 0.8. Yeah, 0.8. So we have frequency densities. We usually say this when class intervals are not equal, like in this case. Frequency, okay, histogram is plotted by taking frequency density against class boundaries. Frequency densities against class boundaries. So let's check a scale for the frequency densities and another scale for the Another scale for the class intervals. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. We have the vertical axis like that. Then horizontal axis. Now let's check. The first class is a 10 to 14. So we can use a lower boundary of 9.5. The least boundary of 9.5 should come there. So that we go to 14.5, 19.5, 24.5, 29.5, 34.5, 39.5, 44.5, 49.5, 54.5, 59.5, like that. Looking at all the classes, we're going up to 69, eh? Okay, going up to 69. So we can have 64.5, then 69.5, and also 74.5 at the end there. Then now we check a good scale for the axis, the vertical axis. The least frequency density is 0.6 and the greatest is 2.2. So we can use intervals of 0.4, I think. I think 0.4 will help us. 0.4 will help us. 0.4 will help us. So or can we use 0.2? Let's check 0.2. 0.2, 0.4, 0.6, 0.8, 1.0, 1.2, 1.4, 1.6, 1.8, 2.0, 2.0, 2.2, 2.4. Yeah, 2.2. So we have a good scale there. This is 1.2. So let's check the first class. For the first class, we are talking about all the way to 14.5, and the height is 2.2. The height is 2.2. Yeah, like that. The next one from 14.5 all the way to 24.5 with 0.8. 24.5 with 0.8. You see? That is the vertical height. Indeed. The other one from 24.5 all the way to 39.5, height 0.4. Height 0.4 according to the scale. No, 0.36. So 0.3. Then 36 shall be here. All the way to 39.5. Yeah. All the way to 39.5. Then from 39.5 all the way to 44.5. All the way to 44.5 with 0.8. Just a narrow class like that. After 44.5, now we start from 44.5 to 54.5, 0.6 to 54.5, 0.6. Then finally, from 54.5 to 69.5, 0.8 to 69.5, 0.8. A vertical light is 0.8, which is the frequency density. Remember, this is number 23, which we are almost finishing up, and we are supposed to move all the way to We're supposed to move all the way to number 24. So we almost there. We have our histogram plotted, a very clean histogram. Frequency densities against the boundaries. Against the boundaries like that. Use the histogram to calculate the median. Use the histogram to calculate the median. One thing that you're supposed to know is that a median is the middle value. And we already calculating using the CF. Did we compute the CF? Not yet. So let's get the CF now. Yeah, allow me get the CF at this point because we are already through with the, let me use the CF now here. 11, 19, 28, 32, 38, 50. Total frequency is 50. So 50 divided by 2. 50 divided by 2 gives us 25. So we need the mark scored by the 25th student. Where is the 25th student lying according to the CF? Where is the 25th student lying according to the CF? According to the CF, the 25th student, which is the middle student, lies in this class. Because we have 11, 19, then 28, meaning that now the 25th is in this class. So now we go back to our diagram now and say number of students is given by frequency. Frequency is given by class length, frequency density times class length. Frequency density times class length. Therefore, we need to know that area of each bar gives us the number of students there. So we will have number being, let me use this, the number being 11 here. In the next, the number being 9. Is it 9 or 7? The number being 7. The number being 8, sorry. The number being 8, not 7. The number being 8. So those are 19 so far. How many students do we need to get to the 5th one, to the 25th one? 25 minus 19. You know, this will give us 6. So we need now 6 so that you get the area of 25 students. So we need 6 more. We need 6 more. In the second class, we have a fixed height of 0.36. We have a fixed height of 0.36. So we need area that is equal to 6. Area equal to 6 will be given by we play with the x-axis now, because area of 6 should be given by the height of 0.36 multiplied by a known width. So we need a width equal to 6 divided by 0.36. This gives us 16.667. 16.667. So 16.67. A width of 16.67. So now, from 24.5, we should add 16.67. 24.5, we should add 16.67, so that we get where we ought to be. And this is 41.17. 41.17 or 41.66 recurring. So where is 41.66 recurring? Yeah, that is it. Let me confirm something here. Yeah, we just needed area for 6 students. 6 students. Area for 6 students. And the width that will give us 6. The width that will give us 6 has already been outlined. So now we are getting 41.17. That is the median from the data. That is the median. What are we adding to this? What are we adding to 24.16? So that you get 6 people within this class. So we say 6 divided by 0.36, giving us 16 point, then plus 24.5, 41.16. Start the median. Number 24 as we wind up. The equation of a curve is given by x power 3, negative x squared, negative 5x plus 3. Determine the stationary points of the curve. First, we get turning points. Let's get turning points. Turning points, these are points where the gradient function becomes 0. So we get the gradient function first by differentiating this particular function. We differentiate it. 3 comes down here, and x becomes power 2 minus 2 gets down here, and this is x, then negative 5. X becomes power 0, so it disappears. Now, at the points where the curve turns, the gradient is 0. So gradient function is 3x squared minus 3x plus 5 equals to 0. Can we solve it now quadratically and say we need product? Yes, this is 2. So here we are having a 2. Product of negative 15 and sum, we have negative 2 there. So sum is negative 2. So we need to talk about 2 factors. When multiplied, they give us negative 15. And when added, they give us negative 2. That is negative 5 and 3. So we can now solve 3x squared. Instead of negative 2, we can have negative 5x and positive 3x minus 5 equals to 0. So from the first 2 terms, we just factor x. 3x minus 5 plus positive 3x minus 5. This is equal to 0. With that being equal to 0, need now to talk about 3x minus 5, x plus 3, giving us a 0. From the first expression, the value of x shall be positive 5 over 3, and x can also be negative 3. Then now with these values of x, we can find corresponding values of y. So these are the values of x at the turning points. Values of x at the turning points, meaning that we can get corresponding values of y. So that we can say the coordinates are 5 over 3, comma, and negative 3, comma. So let's check. Let's now check the value of y when x is 5 over 3. We go now to the equation that gives us y. We start with 5 over 3 cubed. Minus 5 over 3 squared minus 5 into 5 over 3 plus 3. So I'm getting negative 3.5. Negative 3.5 to 1 dp. I hope the substitution was right. Okay. Then negative 3 now, we start with negative 3 power 3 minus negative 3 squared minus 5 into negative 3 plus 3. This now giving me negative 18. That's giving me negative 18. So we have those two coordinates now. Those are the coordinates of the stationary points of the curve. Yeah, stationary points of the curve. Then in part 2, determine the nature of the stationary points. To know the nature, you have to examine the behavior of the curve before and after the turning point. So we need to come up with a table, small table of values, a small table of values. So we start with values of x at the stationary point 5 over 3. You know 5 over 3 is equivalent to 1.6. So meaning that after the turning point, we can have a point like 2, and just before the turning point, a point like 1. So those are values of x before and after the turning point. Then the gradient itself, value of gradient now, dy dx. What is the value of gradient? Here it shall be 0 when you substitute. What about just before the turning point? So we go to the gradient function and check the value of gradient when x is 1. This will be 3 into 1 squared minus 2 into 1 minus 5. I'm getting negative 4. Gradient is negative 4 at x equals to 1. What about the value of gradient at x equals to 2? So 3 into 2 squared minus 2 into 2 minus 5. I'm getting positive 3. The gradient is 3, meaning that the gradient itself, or rather the curve, the gradient is behaving like this. Negative through 0 becomes positive. So now the turning point, 5 over 3, negative 3.5. This curve is what we call a minimum point. That is the nature. Minimum point. At the minimum point of a curve, gradient changes from negative through 0 to positive. What about the other type of, the other turning point? What about the other turning point? Just a small table. Values of x. We start with x at -3. Then just after -3, we can have -2. Just before -3, we can have -4. Then the value of gradient, dy dx. You see, at the turning point, gradient is 0. We don't have to substitute that. Gradient is 0. What about just after and just before? So we go to the gradient function and use -4. 3 into -4 squared minus 2 into -4 minus 5. I'm getting 51. What about at -2, just after the turning point? 3 into -2 squared minus 2 into -2 minus 5. I'm getting positive 11. And I hope that one has been properly computed. 3 into -2 squared minus 2 into -2, then minus 5. So I'm getting positive 11. This is 11. According to the nature of this curve now, ladies and gentlemen, according to this curve, which is changing from positive through 0 and continues being positive, then we say -3. Coordinate -3 what? -3, -18. This is a point of inflation. Point of inflation. A point of inflation. Inflection. That's a point of inflection, whereby a point changes from positive through 0 into positive again. And also a point of inflation can be from negative through 0 to negative again. So that is the nature of that particular turning point. Let's look at part B, whereby we are told that we find the equation. Find the equation of part A, tangent of the curve y equals to x power 3 minus x squared minus 5x plus 3 at x equals to -2. So at x equals to -2, we find equation of a tangent. Equation of a tangent equals to equation of a curve at a given point. So let's find the gradient first. Let's find gradient. When x equals to -2 and we have gradient function, what will be the value of the gradient? At -2, what is the value of gradient? It's going to be 11. We've already worked it out. It's going to be 11. So if the gradient is 11, ladies and gentlemen, gradient of the curve at x equals to 2 is 11. Gradient of the curve at x equals to 2 is 11. We just go to gradient function and we substitute -2. You find the gradient is 11. Now, gradient of a tangent is usually equal to gradient of the curve at a particular point. And therefore, we also find the coordinate itself now. What is y when x is -2? We have the equation that gives us y. So when x is -2, let's find y. Y equals to -2 power 3 minus -2 squared minus 5 into -2, then now plus 3. That's going to be exactly 1. So the coordinate is 2, 1. Coordinate is 2, -2, 1. So we use now a universal coordinate, xy, whereby gradient is given by change in y minus 1, out of change in x minus -2, making it positive. This is over 1. So we can cross multiply y minus 1 equals to 11x plus 22. So the value of y equals to 11x plus 23. That is now the equation of the tangent. What should guide you there is the value of gradient. Gradient is usually the same for a curve and tangent at the same point. But now, normal in part 2 now. Normal is a line which is perpendicular to the tangent, meaning that gradient 2 of this particular normal now is going to be -1 out of 11. The reciprocal with opposite sign. The reciprocal with opposite sign, so that the product of the two gradients give us -1. Yeah, so that the product of the two gradients give -1. So at this point now, we need to say now that -1/11 equals to, change in y, it's the same coordinate. At x equals to -2, y is 1. So the coordinate is up there. Y -1 out of x minus a -2, making it a +2. So at that point now we can do cross multiplication. 11y minus 11 equals to -x minus 2. 11y equals to -x +9. +9 because of -2 plus 11. Yeah, we get +9. The value of y now shall be -1/11 x plus 9/11. So that is the final equation. This is the last printed page. We are done with the paper. A very good paper. Please make sure that you follow through. Make sure that you invite a friend to the powerful lesson so that they may also benefit from what we are covering here. Thank you and welcome also to our platform here. Please reach out through 070415 3366. Thank you. See you another time, and success.